Hi, Peter Boolkah here, and welcome to today's edition of the Transition Guy. Now today I want to talk to you about innovation versus imitation and how it's so crucial that we do not allow imitation to stifle our innovation. Now that's easy for you to say. So where did this come across? Where did this all come from? Recently I was speaking to one of my clients and he was getting more and more pissed off that no matter what he did, a couple of competitors would directly follow and copy. And it was that copycatting that was really starting to get him down. And I tried to explain, well, you know what, imitation is number one, the greatest form of flattery, but you're never going to stop people imitating what you're doing. But just because someone imitates or tries to imitate what you are doing doesn't mean that they're going to be able to successfully execute the same way you are. Let me give you an example. Let's go back 10 years when Apple first brought out the iPad. That was revolutionary. Why is it that 10 years later, the iPad is still the world's number one tablet? And if you look at other competitors, whether it's Samsung, whether it's Microsoft, they've all brought out their own iterations of the tablet. And in their own respective rights, they're fantastic pieces of kit. And some of them are even technically far superior to the iPad. But why is it that the iPad is still number one? Because the iPad is more than the sum of its physical self. If you take the physical, what goes into the iPad, that's only an element of it. See, what they couldn't imitate was the thought processes that Apple went through to develop the iPad, to get the iPad working with various pieces of software, the whole user experience. Because they're not part of Apple, they weren't part of that think tank, they never got the understanding. Yeah, that's fine, they saw the actual content, but they never got the context to what Apple were trying to do. And it's the same with my client. My client's done his website. The website itself has its own journey for the customer. And straight away, a couple of competitors have absolutely copied the website more or less like for like, but they're not demonstrating or not delivering the same level of service that my client is sort of delivering. And the reason being, my client distinguished what the customer journey was going to be like first, what the customer service experience was going to be like, and then build the website. It wasn't about the selling of the product, it was about the website was there to supplement the company's focus on customer service. Whereas the competitors, their focus was on just getting a website that looked the same as my client's, but without the functionality there because they didn't understand what the purpose of the website was. But what needs to happen, especially where we are right now, the world has shifted so massively. The whole COVID-19, lockdown, people pivoting online. We've seen the biggest shift that we have done for 100 years. What we need to do now is we need to make sure that we don't get scared of innovation, because actually it's going to take innovation to get us through this. If you look at restaurants that didn't go online, they're suffering now. They're suffering. Why? Because they didn't think about innovating and changing their business model. I've even had to change the way I do things. You look at companies out there, they're now readdressing, do they really need the office space that they once had? You see people moving online from retail. I mean, retail is dead. If you look at it, there will be still people that will go out there and do some kind of retail. But mainstream retail, once you've been locked down for 16 weeks, do you honestly think once you've learned to do that online, you've got the convenience of that online, that you're going to bounce back and do things the way you used to do them? Absolutely not. So what I want you to start thinking about, how does innovation need to look in your business? What framework do you use for innovation? What are you using to rethink your business? You've got to go back to Airbnb. That was a totally great innovation that really put the frighteners into hotels. Netflix killed off Blockbuster. That was again another great innovation. If you take iTunes and music in the cloud, that killed off your record shops. That killed off all those big mega record stores that once existed. And if you don't innovate, does your industry perhaps face extinction? So I did a webinar with Kaihan not so long ago. That would be a good reference point on how to start getting strategic thinking in place so that you can start innovating, getting some great ideas in place so that you can propel your business forward. Because if you don't innovate, someone else will. And if you try to imitate someone else's innovation, you're not necessarily going to succeed because you just do not have the context of the content. Now, if you love what we've discussed today, you want to know more about innovation, how you can innovate in your business, what frameworks you can adopt to help you with the innovation process, head over to boolkah.com and get in touch. And if you love today's episode, please like it, comment and share it so that other people can benefit. And finally, remember, failing to learn is learning to fail. And please stay safe.